Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are going to be looking at a scenario in Europe. Before I get to that, I want to thank you all for the support. One of my videos has gotten a lot of views and I just want to say thank you. I'm sorry I haven't posted in a little bit. I have been taking like a week off and a week on for YouTube to kind of get some ideas, all that kind of stuff. But let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. Starting off, it's up here. This video is going to be kind of like Ada's Pros, What If Poland Snapped? But it's probably going to be titled, What If Poland Got Revenge? And it's going to start like this. And they're going to go ahead and start ramping up their military. They're going to be like over the course of probably about a year, so maybe about 2026. And then by this time, they're going to be good enough to declare war on Slovakia. Slovakia is strong, but not really strong at all. And they're pretty much easily able to go through the side and take all this with their newfound military power. If you look at a globe, it'll tell you that theirs is like their capital is like right over here by Austria. So they're going to start making a spearhead down, going through here. And they are going to move swiftly, take the capital, all this land, until they surrender. And of course, in this we're going to see full annexation, which hasn't really happened before, but will be happening now. There we go, border. And now there's not really many people to attack besides Czechia. So they're going to send an ultimatum over Czechia saying, if you do not give us probably about all this land, so kind of like the opposite of the Sudetenland that Germany wanted in like World War II, like something like this and like this. Kind of like the opposite of that with Poland. And they're going to ask for all of this land. When they decline, Poland is going to march their troops in and take control of this little area. They're going to take it for themselves until they declare war on Poland. And of course, in this video, we are not counting NATO. NATO's out of fact here, because of course, NATO has all these big countries. They have a lot of people in their alliance. So this wouldn't be very good for them. As we can see, there's all of this, and of course all of these up here. So this would not be good, as this would be what they're attacking. So we're just not going to count any of this. Yeah, so we're not going to count any of NATO in this little experiment, as they end up going in through the bottom, and they're going to be doing very good in the first week of the war. They end up taking probably about all this land, and of course with all this land they also march up to the capital, I believe Prague, because Czechia's capital. They end up taking it, forcing it to surrender in about the first 2 weeks. Full annexation, again, no puppet states. Then they're going to try to get an ally. Allies is not going to come hard. Allies, something will be happening. As before they try to find an ally, an alliance is formed, coloring it purple, and it's going to be the Anti-Poland Commonwealth. So APC, the APC. And this includes Germany, Denmark, This is going to include Netherlands and Belgium, not Luxembourg. It will include France, though, which is something to note. And Austria, because they wouldn't be protected by NATO anyways. And now it's going to make it very hard for them to find any, common ground. And now we're going to get into some of the modern talk. They're going to be befriending Russia. And you might be like, why would they do this? Well, it's obvious. It's to gain more land. And they end up, they own, as we know, they own all the land up here. Very strong. So, with them as an ally, it's gonna kind of go easy for them. And now we're gonna count what they control. And we're going to look at what they have in the current war. And it goes about like this. This is like what they have. So, and then we're going to color it in blue. And then we also know that they have the little Kiev offensive. Draw that in there. Close enough. And now, as allies, Poland is going to officially declare war on Ukraine. They're going to instantly march in and take control of a lot of this land, slowly marching towards Kiev, which is around here. Yeah, it's more in the middle, like right there. So they're going to start marching. The whole world is going to be very mad at Poland, but they can't really do anything because Russia's their ally. So Russia's going to continue in, taking all of their Baltic Sea coast. This is getting very hard for them, but they are able to reclaim all the Kiev area and make a little march. In for the top. Just like that. And now the march towards Kiev begins as they get probably right outside the city. And a deadly siege goes on. And eventually they're just going to have to surrender, and then we can take a look at the peace treaty. The peace treaty is going to go something like this. With Poland over here, they're going to take all this red area right here. They are going very large. Russia grows into the land they wanted, so they get some of the Donbass region, as well as some up here in Kiev. And now we see that they are just a little husk of their former selves. They don't have nearly as much land as they used to. Of course, that's due to the war effort. And now there is a big kind of revolt going on inside. And, well, we probably will talk about that later, but this is the new Ukraine. Next, though, Poland is going to be going after they're going to be going after Lithuania right here. And this is going to be not the greatest, as when they declared war on, they are actually going to form an alliance, kind of, with all basically the Nordic countries as well as the Baltic countries. Immediately though, Norway kind of opts out. Finland is going to opt out. It's going to be them down here, and they're going to be like, really? And they're going to look back at them, and they're going to be like, yep. So, they watch as massacre kind of happens, as Estonia take it over pretty easily. Lithuania as well. They march in, take the capital right here, falls over. Lithuania is going to get toppled from both sides. And Poland isn't really going to do much in this war. I'm going to take about that much land. And then the peace treaty goes very simple, and I'll show it to you. Simple enough. Poland's actually going to gain, they're going to gain Kaliningrad. So Kaliningrad and this little area Lithuania is theirs now. They're kind of salty about this because they wanted to get a lot more. So that's going to have to do. And Russia ends up taking over all of these. This is when Poland gets kind of mad at Russia, and they're not very, there's allies, but Poland is not the greatest. They're actually going to split up the puppet state of Belarus, and it's basically just taken over like this. Poland is going to be getting this land right here. So they get all this land. They're still unhappy though, as now Russia is kind of coming back as a major player in Europe. So they're going to be getting some more allies. And Russia's going to be like, what? Because like, these are like some of, not really the most friendly of nations with them. We're going to include Turkey in here. And Italy. As well as the UK. And the UK joins in on this alliance. And now the alliance is declared different. And now, all of a sudden, Russia seems very mad. Very angry. Very, very angry as they're kicked out of the alliance. So all this down here. So they're basically kicked out, and they're basically kind of regaining their influence a little bit. It's different. We're gonna so basically what happens is these guys are declared a different alliance. And Russia has made like a new alliance. This color doesn't exactly mean that they're part of the alliance, but they basically formed the alliance with Kazakhstan. They're kind of like close. They're still sovereign, but they're not like they're close with Russia. Very close, in fact. So now it's looking like we have a Russian Empire versus Poland. And Poland's actually going to be the first one to declare war, as their ally, Finland, is going to come up from the north here and take the Kola Peninsula. And they're going to take it all, as well as take some land beside it. And now we're going to see something I haven't really introduced into the series yet. You might have seen this from, Aegis Pro series, but this is going to be their what's it called? It's going to be their naval battles. So we're introducing naval battles. They basically own all this right now in terms of naval. They do own a lot of around this and up into here. Even this island, and it's kind of like surrounded. Poland, on the other hand, let's talk about Poland. They have taken a lot of this over. This is all their influence, I'll say. We need to and then so this is theirs, and Russia's. It's going to be basically the same thing. But so this is kind of like what shows of naval battles. Basically, Poland's gonna instantly win. They have a great naval force right now. Still a work in progress, as you can see. But Finland is very strong. They have been very buffed up by Poland. Poland instantly basically reclaims all of this area in Lithuania. And with the help of their allies, they end up making a landing in some of this land that Ukraine once owned, taking it back, as well as this Black Sea coast. So now they don't really have a Black Sea fleet, as well as a lot of this area. Of course, this is a really protected area, and they're even going to invade into Kazakhstan in their alliance. And Kazakhstan kind of folds really easily. They're not that strong. The only good thing is their capital is all the way over here, is Astana. So, I hope I don't mispronounce that. So, it's pretty good. They've cut off access to the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, which is really good for them. But Russia is going to keep fighting back. But eventually, with the help with Britain and Italy, they're going to be able to make a breakthrough. And they're going to start heading for Moscow. Now, Moscow would be somewhere around here. So they're going to get to it. Let's say the capital city's right here. And they're going to surround it. Slowly closing in. Meanwhile, some of their troops are going to try to come in from this side. And they end up retaking the city and what's around it, forcing the troops to fall back or get demolished. And now they're going to kind of go up and meet up with Finland. That's their plan. They meet up and encircle a ton of population and a ton of different military stuff. So they end up taking something like this, and the rest just fold over basically to Poland. Really easy for them to get all this. And down here it is going well too, as they have met up with, they have finally met up with Poland, and the capital city is under threat once again. This time it's smaller, as it's right there. But it eventually grows very big to where they're not going to be able to break through to this. They're just going to have to hope it holds out until the end of the war. And eventually it gets sieged, and then all of a sudden Russia has signed a peace agreement to end the war. It's really simple. One really important thing is Ukraine is giving back their lands as a sign of gratitude. Not their lands from Poland, though. Remember that. And Poland is now going to take control of some more land in Russia and in Lithuania. Finland gets a ton of land, as they get all of this land up here, and St. Petersburg, a really important city. I don't know if they would move their capital there or not. But down here, Turkey gets a little area up here in the seaport, and the rest is going to go over back to these guys. There is a rule made that Russia cannot attack them again. In addition to that, a lot of the important land of Russia is turned into a puppet state, which is really bad for Russia. Of course, they probably still have a little bit of good land around here. Down here has a lot of oil and stuff, so they still have that. Kazakhstan pretty much gets out of this unscathed. They just have to leave the alliance. Not too much of a big deal. Russia's lost their influence. They basically have nothing. They're a joke. I mean, they kind of already are, with the big stalemate in Ukraine. But they're going to be kind of an even bigger joke now in this situation. And now we can move on to something else. As Poland has decided they want more land. They don't have enough. And they want revenge. Bad. If you don't know history that well, you'll know, I'll explain it to you real quick. Germany has terrorized Poland throughout all the ages. At one point, the German Empire had a lot of land, probably about this much, and all of this up here from Poland. And in World War One, they got decimated. In World War Two, they got decimated again by them and the Soviet Union. So, step one, gone. Step two, Germany. But what do we know about Germany? Well, they are in this alliance. And this alliance actually picks up members. Hungary, Slovenia are both new members, as well as Croatia. They become a member. Spain thinks about joining, but they're going to stay out of it for a while because they just joined sides with the pink team. So, if this were to break out into a war, this would be very deadly. Ireland decides to join on the side of the purple team. Norway decides to join on the side of the purple team, as well as Sweden. So they both join together. Now this is seeming like, if things escalated, this could be a very major war. Basically a Europe World War. Mini video. But we're going to start the war. We'll end up starting off down here as Greece is going to join sides with the purple team, which makes Poland very mad. They're going to give the signal for all these people to attack at once, and it starts down here as this northern part of Greece it folds. Crete pretty much instantly folds as well. All these islands taken over. It's not an island, but it's connected by a barely strip of land. It's taken. After this threat end, it's not taken yet. The military is kind of holding out, but they have no allies down here. So after some help from Italy, they're pretty much folded. Over here on this front line, there's a little pushback by Spain into France, as well as the capturing of Corsica and escaping the mountains barely to France, as well as a little bit into Slovenia. Not much into Austria though. Where most of the fighting is actually going to be in Poland, as they go down into Hungary and they threaten Budapest almost immediately and capture the city, taking almost all of it over before they surrender. Next, they stretch down into Croatia, take it all over almost instantly, and meet up with Italy. We do see some resistance now, though, from the purple team, as they have moved in to Poland, threatening this area, reaching down, and they even reclaim Slovenia back. Down here, they are able to take a good amount of what France had back, and even opening up on one side. Up here, Northern Ireland is pretty much taken over by Ireland, but they are going to try their best to take it back, and they do so well, and eventually invade into Ireland, taking it over, and they make a little invasions into these different areas of France, as well as Belgium and the Netherlands, to try to stop the inevitable, because they have no help on this side, besides for maybe if Spain tried to help, but it probably wouldn't work well. Up here, Finland is absolutely destroying them. Finland is very strong in this scenario. They already are very strong, and they end up probably taking about this much land. threatening the major city down here, Stockholm, until eventually a naval landing captures it, which pretty much draws both these two out of the war, but they already sent help from Germany to fight this off a little bit. And they recaptured Stockholm and a little bit more of Norway. And it seems to be going good for them until we get back down here, as Turkey can now send all their troops onto the Italian front line. And this goes pretty much how you would expect it. Slovenia folded. Austria, they get through these mountains just a little bit, as well as back over here in France. Spain is now going into this. But then we see another person joining in the purple team, being Portugal. Spain kind of expected this, so in the starting days, they will push in a little bit at the north. But Portugal was more prepared, as they end up going down here and threatening Gibraltar. Of course, it's British territory, so they can still take it. And they end up taking this, which is a very large blow to Spain. So they end up getting a little bit extra help sent down to take it back. They retreat this area in the north to help to fend off this area in the south. It goes pretty well. They end up taking a good amount of it back. Checking back up on the Poland front line. Poland is able to hold out a little bit more in the south. There's a big defensive line here, I would say. Up here, it goes like that. Over here, I would say like this. This has become the front line. Down here, there's this front line, that front line, that front line, and that front line. So France is getting invaded by 3 sides. Not good for France. France is not doing very well at all. And we see that as a major Italian breakthrough goes through, and all the coast is captured by Italy. Spain helps a good amount too. They're also dealing with Portugal, which is their own problem, kind of. So they're just gonna go up probably that much. France, they're strong, but trying to hold off Italy, Spain, and Britain with little help from allies is not going to be easy for them. They end up kicking them out of Britain, though, of Brittany, and I think this would be, let's see, I think probably like, I don't know how to say that, Katesburg. Probably butchered the name, but they do end up capturing that back. Meanwhile, up here, it's going very good for them. They take over all the Netherlands, and that includes Amsterdam. They go into Belgium and try to take Brussels. They don't get that close though. They do end up taking it all eventually. When German focuses come back and they kind of restore it, but not the major cities, but they do restore countries. Down here, France fights back a little bit, trying to regain coast to the sea, pushing down. They don't manage to reach it though, and that's also mostly because even if they did, there's a very strong military presence down here. Of course, you have Turkey, plus all the captured Greece, all of Italy, plus the captured Corsica, and then Spain. So that's basically a giant northern blockade, so you can't get anything in through here. Unless you go through the Adriatic Sea, which has already been cut off. Meanwhile, up here, the Nordics aren't getting very much help, to be honest. Everybody else has other stuff to focus on. So people are going to be joining this war now, which is going to help the purple team. First of all, Romania joins the purple team, and Bulgaria. So this is a new front line for Turkey that they can attack. And if they do win, they might potentially gain a ton of Black Sea coast. Someone else who joins is Georgia. Mostly because they're surrounded by Turkey and they feel very threatened. So in the early days of these new allies joining the war, This land pretty much folds over to this land does kind of, but not as much. Mainland Turkey is more guarded. Over here, though, it's a different story. As the Purple Team liberates some of Greece, the Greeks, they still have their government, kind of. Most of the government officials were killed. But they do take over all Thrace, which is a really big problem for Turkey. So they're the ones who are actually getting help now to fight off. And they do end up taking a lot of Greece back, and besides for some of these parts that they have captured. Over here, now that Turkey is fighting back, oh, yeah. Oh, and so now, they can focus not on the, they don't have to focus on the Eastern Front anymore. They can focus mainly on this Western Front right here. And, Poland is seceding. Technically, they are losing on a front, but winning on another. But now that they have another front open, they are going to be sending a ton of military people. They are drafting a ton of people from the puppet state. And yeah, Romania pretty much falls. They do not reach Bucharest, if that's the name. Everywhere else completely falls as they try to meet up with Turkey. And then one of the front lines is gonna kind of fail over here. France, all of this area is taken back pretty much. Now Britain's gonna try to play defensive and send aid when they can. Then here is also getting pushed back. They almost make it to the seacoast until the Italians are able to regain control. Over here, though, they do lose with the distraction. They are able to go in and even capture Vienna, which is a very major blow, which hurts a lot. But now there is some fighting in these countries. Slovenia is taken over. A lot of this is taken over, and this kind of leads to a fallback on this line. Germany is now recruiting like crazy, and they're going up and taking this coast, which they once owned a long time ago. And they're going to march in very strongly. They're going to head to Warsaw to try to end this all. Before they get there, though, a Poland party cuts them off and eventually gets rid of them entirely. Up in where Kaliningrad would be, they're cut off a lot too. And down here, this instruction leads to some of Romania being recaptured. Down here, it's still looking good for Turkey as they're going very strong, and they're even going into Bulgaria, taking over their capital. The main Balkans down here, they're not really doing anything. They're just waiting until we see someone joining in this war, and that is Bosnia. Bosnia joins in this war, and this is basically to Poland's content, because basically the plan was to give them control of Croatia for now. Might get some in the war, and Slovenia, and continue fighting on this front line right here. They're going to continue fighting on that front line. And this actually helps Poland a lot with the help of these guys. Italy does regain Vienna barely, and they're slowly pushing out. And the war is pretty stalemated for a little bit. Winter comes, but up here, that is a good thing, as Finland in this universe has the greatest winter army of all time. They are insanely cracked, and to take over all of the Nordic countries, besides for Denmark and, of course, Iceland. And, I guess we should color in Greenland. And then, USA takes over Greenland. Third party alert. So, now that Greenland is owned, or administered currently, by the USA, that's gonna, like, help them. We're basically aligned with Poland now. And now we can take a look at one of these front lines that has been increasing in strength rapidly as the Bonn is captured, or Lisbon, and it's captured, and the whole front line fails now. And now they can focus their troops up more. They're also sending a lot of help over to Britain as something bad had just happened. And they have landed in Cornwall and Wales. Eventually, rebellions in Ireland take over the whole Ireland. And Britain is looking scared for their life. They're probably peeing their pants right now. And now, the Nordic Finland is going to be sending a ton of stuff over here, which is going to be helping, as they can pretty much kick it out. Over here, they're not able to do very much. And they're able to take a little bit of this. They're able to take probably about this much over in Ireland back, plus that. But it's not that great. And the war is kind of ending. Germany makes a very big decision and leaves the war because they were currently winning, but everywhere else wasn't. After this, pretty much, Austria gets folded, as well as the addition of Romania and Bulgaria. Next, Italy will gain all of its land. Bosnia is very happy they joined this war. Over here, France, as well, they pretty much get folded. With the help of the new London, the new UK, who can remake a landing in this area. Finland takes over Denmark. With the leaving of Germany, this land is basically reoccupied by Poland. We're going to be leaving it like that. And before the capturing of Paris, the capturing of Paris goes by Italy. Actually, they wrapped around, and now the war is over and it's finally ended. This major conflict is done, and we can take a look at the peace treaty. And here is the peace treaty. Starting off, we're going to start off simple. Spain gets all of Portugal, and they're also going to get some land right up here, right by, they took it from France. So, new border looks like this. Up here, all the UK annexes all of Ireland, as well as Brittany. We're going to talk about France in a little bit. Going down here, Turkey takes all of this area. They now wrap around the Black Sea coast. And Thrace also gets a whole lot bigger. Probably about that much bigger. Bulgaria and Greece are now puppet states. Romania gets split in half by Poland. We'll talk about that also later. A big mess with Italy, as Italy takes over a ton of the coast over here. They do leave a little bit for France. Bosnia gets control of all the sea access. Probably makes them a lot richer. A ton of this area. Next we see that Italy also gains more area. And now we're going to take a look at the second half of the peace treaty. Bring off the second half of the peace treaty. Croatia and Slovenia form a union. It's just like a long stretch of land. Italy gains a little bit of land right here. This war, it probably could not have been done without the main factors. I would say are Italy, Turkey, Finland, of course, the original ones. Then like some minor factors like Bosnia, the UK, and Spain. Realistically, the UK could have put up way more of a fight, but it's just how I made things play out. Next up, we're going to be skimming over Poland. Up here, Finland maybe doubles the size again. They are now humongous. They spread all of this area. The rest are would probably be formed into puppet states. Talk about it in the comments what you think would happen. Whether it be puppet states or not. For now, we're going to leave them as yes, they are going to be. And that pretty much ends it for Finland. And now we're going to take a look at Poland. Starting off, we don't want no secrets. So basically, Poland takes over all this area, including a lot of Hungary.
You didn't poop. I'm gonna put this diaper back on and then
we're gonna change it to like this, so you know. I take over all of almost all of this area. Hungary. What is this? Oh, I don't even know anymore. They take back all of their German lands and even a little bit of Western Germany. They probably would have taken a lot of land because they absolutely hate Germany. And now, Greater Poland looks something like this. We have a few more things at the end of the video that we're going to do. First, the rest of these right here are made into puppet states. A lot of puppet states. Some of the first things how it would happen. Croatia would end up joining up with Bosnia, forming a great big, whatever you want to call it. There are a ton of puppet states here now. I don't know what happened. Some of them would probably like join up with Poland, like these two. I would probably join up in Poland in that situation. So we're gonna go up with that. And France, and we need to talk about France and Denmark. Denmark, basically what happens is they join up with these puppet states up here. We're actually going to form this into one big Nordic puppet state. The Benelux forms into a puppet state. Now we need to talk about France. France basically is going to get formed several different governments. There's going to be a northern government that will have control of Paris. There's going to be a government right here, and then there's going to be another government. So, that is all this. So now, got something like that. And all this area has now turned into new little, I won't say puppet states, but they're now new little countries. Remnants of course, the remnants of France that was split up with Italy, the UK, and Spain. And now we're going to be seeing probably one or two more events happening. Number 2, Poland annexes Moldova. There might be some of a fight from like Transnistria over in the west or the east. And then the Ukraine thing is going to end the peace treaty, and they're very scared. But Poland, being the absolute giga chad they are, sweeps through all of this side, take Kiev very quickly. Turkey gets in on this, and they go ahead and they take this much, probably. Look familiar? But they take about, take about this much. The puppet state does actually get a little bit of land. And then the war will be over, and then we'll see a peace treaty. And in the peace treaty, we see Poland gets all this area. They're now back to the blob self they kind of were at the beginning, but probably triple or maybe even quadruple the size. This puppet state, Russia, is going to get all this land. This land is going to go over to Turkey. And then there's going to be a deal to buy a little piece of land right here over to Turkey so that they're connected up. And besides for the bridge down here. And now Turkey has formed kind of a Black Sea Empire, which is kind of cool to think about. The rest of this, of course, puppet state time. And now Ukraine is a puppet state, along with Russia. They were once enemies, but now they're Poland's puppet states. How fun! And now, Europe is basically under their control. They have full influence over Europe. Of course, they have a ton of allies, even more puppet states. What would probably end up happening is maybe like a France reunion and then turn into like a puppet state or something. The United States, they're going to end up taking Greenland. From here, we could probably see some sort of invasion of course, of Canada. Probably do something like this. Take some land here. Go up, take some of this land. This lake, Vancouver, link up with Alaska. Then, like, they would, like, send, like, some boats out. Like, there's probably nothing here, so they probably wouldn't, like, capture it. And, boom, peace treaty. Capture all the land. And that's basically going to do it for today's episode. Or, not really episode. But I hope you enjoyed. And, thanks again for all the support. Please continue to be doing so. And the Polish have finally gotten revenge. Goodbye.